So RJ has been a big volunteer for many years, and he has assisted with DEF CON. He is one of the pivotal contributors to our website and has done a great deal for this organization. Today he will be sharing a talk tailored towards cybersecurity students and professionals that delves into practical techniques for tracking and dismantling these elusive adversaries. Attendees will explore methods such as monitoring the latest ransomware, blogs on the dark web, and reaching out to victims to gather first-hand insights into the operations of these malicious entities. By combining these strategies, participants will gain a comprehensive understanding of how to unmask and combat ransomware groups and gather defenses towards this pervasive threat. Please join me in welcoming RJ.
Hello. This work? Nope. Nope. I'm right. I thought we were good. Okay, this works. All right. Hello, everybody. I'm RJ. Today, I'm just going to be pretty much giving a talk on some stuff we do within the BIT community. Just like the community members, we like to play around. A lot of people are like entry level, so we try to gain some experience just amongst the community. Today, we're focusing on ransomware groups and kind of like some tools to use. I'm just going to like demo some stuff that we've kind of played with within the community and go from there. Hopefully what you'll gain from this talk are some resources on like how to monitor ransomware attacks, techniques for tracking and characterizing ransomware groups, some resources for engaging with these ransomware groups if you choose to, and how monitoring and characterization can actually help strengthen your defenses, organizations' defenses, and so forth. Disclaimer, I'm not advocating that anybody actually goes out and starts DMing ransomware groups or known criminals. I highly don't recommend it, but whatever. Do you? To start off with, I'm a Boyer, RJ. I am part of the Boer clan, direct descendant of Nago. Hope somebody gets that. All right, cool. Not an anime crowd. All right, so basically, I've been in BIC for quite a long time. Start off with red team. I've led the red team, co-led the red team, co-led the blue team, part of military relations, part of the ambassadors group. I was really just a glorified like Discord mod, and then now I'm the director of community, which is literally a glorified Discord mod. So I hang around the Discord. Like I said, I answer people's questions. We come up with slides like this, and we just try to, like I said, gain experience while we're trying to get jobs and stuff like that. Outside of that, I'm a researcher at TechJob. So, monitoring ransomware attacks, the why. So, by monitoring ransomware attacks, we can like help see a pattern, try to figure out like what these ransomware groups are doing, where they're doing it at, and so forth and so forth. I had a kind of good story for that, but we'll kind of save it, trying not to go over time. But some resources for that, of course, I put two on there. There's plenty, but just for some resources for me, I think Dark Web Informer, who just came out with a website, really cool. If like you want to know what these cyber criminals are doing, that's a really good X/Twitter account I'd follow. And like I said, if you go to darkwebinformer.com, he also gives a lot of good information there. Falcon Feeds IO. It's also a really good Twitter I'd follow. Today we're going to go over ransomware.live as like a little demo. This crowd's getting huge. Basically it's just I think it's an observatory for like ransomware attacks. Just how you can look at it, kind of track where they're happening at, and so forth. There's a few of these which I'll get into throughout the demo, but ransomware.live does a really good job of kind of combining all of those sites together. So just to give up some of this, it's ransomware.live was made by Julian Moose Kenton. I think I got it right that time. He says he's CTO, stuff like that. I just want to put his about up there to give him credit and stuff like that. And like I said, throughout the demo, I'll try to give some more credit as I can. He does a really good job of giving credit. on the actual website too, so forth. All right, so I'll try to get this demo while holding a mic. Let's do this, if it works. All right, so this is actually ransomwarelook.io, which is not the site I was supposed to be on. So we're gonna act like we're not there. Hold on. Intermission. It's gonna take me straight to the countryside, which is okay. All right, so this is ransomware.live, not ransomlook.io. Like I said, this is just like ransomware, like kind of tracker. Julian does a really good job at like giving us like graphs and all kinds of data based on what he kind of finds amongst all these. As you can see here, he does some graphs and bar charts or stuff like that. As you're scrolling down, you can kind of see who's the big players as of right now in 2024. Somehow it looks like, Lockbit still taking over. Thought the Fed stopped them, I guess not. So forth. But it gives you some numbers and stuff like that. Digging into it, we can also kind of go over here and look at some recent victims. So I find this as like the coolest page amongst like all the other ransomware like monitoring sites, mainly because he like does a really good job at like organizing what country it is and gives you details, and then he implements like Hudson Rock, which also tells you kind of like about the actual ransomware like or whatever malware is used to affect it. So here you can see he just gives you the date and then when the attack was actually discovered, gives you the victim, again the country and the group. Every now and then we'll get like a little snapshot of what it looks like if it loads, which I also find very cool. And then we'll also sometimes, this will give you like that Hudson Rock kind of like information sometimes. I've realized though that like it's kind of the same on this page, so I take it with a grain of salt sometimes. Back to it though. Moving on, you can kind of just see that. I think the best feature too for this, so we do a lot of work in my firm for like Vietnam. So he sets off like by country, and you can see who's attacking what country and when and where. So just playing around with Vietnam, if I can actually find him on this map. There it is. 22 doesn't get hit with ransomware publicly, I guess, at all. But as you can see, like I said, he separates it by country. On the top, he'll give you like information on the country if you actually care about it. Gives you the capital population, which sometimes actually plays a good role. Gives you like how big it is. False. Gives you the time zone, and also tells you what cybersecurity incident response team is actually in that area. So just kind of like moving forward, I guess. Once again, you get the discovery date. It's the same thing, just like the dashboard. You can kind of see who's got attacked. You can see the date. It'll show you the group. Sometimes. Again, I think I already went over those, but the snapshots, as always, they'll feed into that, which again I find so cool. And like I said, it's not just, he didn't come up with all this. He took kind of all those ransomware monitoring sites and put it all onto one, which is why I'm a huge advocate for it. He also gives us a roadmap, which is like hit or miss because as of right now it's not loading. All right, there it is. But it's like hit or miss because he doesn't. And I kind of like, I sent it at the end, but I don't know if it ever got read. But the map kind of just shows us the country. It's the same thing as kind of last site. I think it would be cooler if like it actually showed the city. But I also understand how much work that would be, and that'd be freaking insane. But that'd be dope if anybody wants to do that, track ransomware and actually put the city on there. But so you get a little map for it. Outside the scope of this talk, he also kind of just does like cyber attacks. Same setup. I won't dive in too deep of that. Going on to group status. So your ransomware group status, I think, is super dope. So you can come here and you can kind of look at all the groups. He'll give you the group name. He'll give you the resource title, whether it's up and running, and he'll give you the onion link for it. Or you could just go to like online groups and it'll just show you all the online groups. This is kind of hit or miss too, because I realize I'm not sure where he imports like the onion links for a lot of these ransomware groups, but I'll demo a resource later that kind of shows where to find some better links for those, which I don't I don't know why people hide those, but yeah, a lot of these aren't really that great. Even though they'll say online, he'll give you like a screenshot of it, but you'll try it, and I mean, it already sucks because the dark web's slow. But yeah, moving on to the profiles, which is also really cool actually, if one will actually load for us. So yeah, we'll just stick here with 8base. So for like 8base, he gives you like a description, kind of what they're doing. I think if I'm not right, he just kind of says like 8base is doing double extortion like everybody is these days. He'll also give you the links again. Sometimes he'll give you some more like links for like research that other people have done, which is really cool. I try to recommend like big people kind of post some stuff and then like DM him if possible, you know, to try to get it on there because I think it'll be really dope. He'll also give you a copy of the ransomware note, which, you know, comes into play. We'll actually scroll down and see that later though. So also gives you like attacks over time, so you see where they've been sleeping. You can kind of see when the feds say they're going to take them down, and really they just go into hiding and come back up sometime later, as they always do. Gives you a victim count and a list of the victims, which we'll also get into later as well. But I also thought, I've always kind of found this a little bit cool because I think he's one of the only people that will give like a thorough description, whereas like a lot of the other sites will just be like, yeah, law firm got hit, like George's law firm, and they're a law firm. And you're like, all right, cool, nice. You gotta figure out what to do with that information. But sometimes it's nice to just know what city I'm dealing with because there's like 20 different George's law firms out here. There was a better way to do this and I didn't. Going on to like ransom notes. Another cool feature, as you can see at the top too, by the way, I think I've been ignoring this part. He does give everybody credit from where he's like taking a lot of these from. But back at 8base, since we're already focused on that, he gives you like kind of just examples of what their ransomware notes might look like. So this is kind of cool and kind of important too if you're ever trying to see like, I guess if you ever deal with an organization or a client or your own firm that actually gets hit with ransomware, I have seen in the past that like somebody gets hit with ransomware and they're using like a ransomware note that says it comes from a certain ransomware group, but it doesn't look anything like that, and the processes they used weren't anything like that, and the decryption key was in the ransomware note, but that's nowhere here or there. But I think it's cool to kind of see these notes so you can kind of compare, and that's if you're dealing with ransomware yourself, of course. Really good resource here though. Keep pushing. So negotiations. Of course he takes this from LegalMat IT over here, I think a little bit, and then there's another resource he uses for these too. These are kind of cool. They're not updated. A lot of these haven't been updated in a while. I don't know, maybe it's super hard to get like information from people after they've been hit with ransomware and ask them how much money they spent. But yeah, this is kind of cool because it kind of shows you basically what group hit them. It says name up here, but it's actually just the date and when it took place. And it'll show you the amount of messages you're going to get. The initial ransom cost over here. It'll show you, I guess, I still don't know how they figure out negotiation. I guess you can figure it out through the chat log, I guess. But from what I've seen, that's also a little bit different. And he'll give you like this little icon if it's been paid or not. Which is still kind of weird too, because like I said, negotiated ransom here, but no icon, so I don't know if it got paid. But so there, I guess he's just taking it from the chat logs. But to kind of go into what that looks like, that's going to load. There we go. I'm not going to go through all 80 of these messages, but I find this kind of cool too. Just to kind of show a lot of people, again, what's the entry level folks in the big community, like what it might look like having a conversation with these ransomware groups and stuff like that. And, you know, I think it's also important to see whether or not these ransomware groups have good customer service or not, you know? I'm not doing business with you if you can't be nice to me. But another good resource, once again, this is kind of why I like this site amongst them all. Pushing forward, like I said, we're not going to try to read all that because that'd be crazy. But let's go. I think for the most part, we can keep kind of looking at other stuff. This is kind of a section that's a little bit janky, so I won't even try to dive too deep into it. But he also gives some stats and graphs, which are actually always really updated for the most part. If you ever kind of want to use those, he does put, of course, his little watermark in there. I don't blame him. You can kind of break these graphs down too, based on the month, the year, so forth, countries, top 10 countries. I haven't seen that until now. So, all right. Just going back to the about, of course, you can kind of see just what he tells you about, all the little credits he gives and stuff like that to people. This does have a really good RSS feed. If you guys ever want to use it, I highly recommend it. It's actually really, really good. But yeah, and a disclaimer, which we don't have to focus on. Back to the slides. So that was the demo. So now we're going to kind of get into like following ransomware groups on a starter kit level. Okay, so John gave a talk yesterday. DiMaggio, I am not him. Nobody I deal with is him. He is a beast. He also, as he said yesterday, dedicates an extreme amount of time that I can't even imagine doing. But anyway, so starter kit level to this. So why it's kind of important to like follow these ransomware groups. It allows us to develop an understanding of motives and adjust our organization's clients or our personal defenses against them. So a good example I used of this recently was like the whole conflict right now in Israel and Palestine, right? So you have some ransomware groups that are posting like pro-Palestine, of course, they're with that. I kind of try to tell people, before you make that post with that Israeli flag or something, just, be cautious of it, especially as an organization, especially when you have a lot of money. You think people would kind of leave their politics aside, but, it's worth, mentioning. Some methods, of course, is Telegram, which I think is a really, really cool resource when it comes to ransomware groups. We'll look at a few, of course, but Telegram, you're going to learn a bunch of information, not just from like the actual groups. Of course, half the time you're not going to see a lot of information from the admins or something, but you can get a lot of information from the affiliates within the groups. The affiliates of these ransomware groups, they serve just as much information as like any admin, I feel like sometimes. Once again, you can also see the customer service. Another good one is cybersecurity Discord servers, right? So I've been playing around in Discord servers now. I told you I'm just a big Discord mod, glorified Discord mod. I sit in my house and yeah, you know how that goes. But anyway, these cybersecurity Discord servers, a lot of these are like built by influencers, which kind of goes into a story. Or they'll be built by these organizations and like they don't have really good moderation. So what turns into cybersecurity studies and teaching you some stuff actually just turns into this big hacking forum on Discord until it gets taken down. But so a funny story of that, not funny, but kind of funny. There is a influencer I've been kind of following, cybersecurity influencer I've been following for about 2 years now. He made this Discord server, this huge Discord community. It's ginormous, but his moderation is really, really bad. So of course you get all these people in there and they're just sharing like all kinds of files and all this good stuff. And I realized something that like me and some buddies will be in there and we'll just like mess with these people or talk to them and try to see what's up. The people or these kids that we think are calm kids are sometimes like extremely affiliated with like the most cyber criminal groups you can imagine. And you're just like, how? But they'll show you everything you can. Once they get to like you and you build that rapport, of course, they'll give you tips. And now I'm getting tips from a 15-year-old who knows way more than I'll ever know. But once again, it's just a really good resource. Discord servers. Finishing up that story real quick. So he has a server, kind of just didn't do any kind of moderation for it, or not moderation, didn't do any kind of modding for it. Moderation. And eventually what happened was, or what is happening now, there is a ransomware group in there we won't talk about, or I won't name, but he's now like that ransomware group's kind of fell off and they're like, we're actually giving up crime and we're going to be hacktivists now and we're going to do criminal stuff but in a nice way. So now it's kind of like this server kind of turned from a influencer server to that ex-ransomware group server, and it's kind of funny to see how this influencer is also promoting them like they're good now, whatever. So another resource for following ransomware groups, of course, are their blogs on the dark web, which I'll show like some of it, but I won't get into, of course, trying to get in here. One of them, blogs and forums are like the best one. I'll do a demo for Deep Dark CTI, which I think is a really, really good resource. Developed by Fastfire. I'm not going to butcher his name. But he says it's just a collection of deep and dark web sources and links. I think it's like one of the most up-to-date sites where you can actually find like these onion links for a lot of these groups, and like somebody's always updating these sites. So like the last site we went through, ransomware.live, like I said, some of them are going to be like, they'll say they're online, but they're really offline. But I think Deep Dark CTI is a little bit better. Moving on, just kind of show you some of those Telegram images, and also kind of snitching a little bit. But as you can see, like I said, Telegram's kind of a resource depending on which channels you follow or which groups you're in. I would love to kind of show some, but they're also very inappropriate. So go in there with caution, I guess. But you can also get like updates from these ransomware groups, or kind of, baby ransomware groups, or however it might be, depending on who you're following. On the left, of course, you can see like Stormus is basically saying they're actually been pushing this new C2/ransomware as a service. They've been pushing it pretty heavy for like the past couple weeks. Their marketing is actually really good for a ransomware group. And on the right, you can kind of see GhostSec just announcing its leave and basically saying, we're not going to do an exit scam, we're just giving it all to Stormus, stuff like that. And once again, this is just stuff you kind of find on like Telegram groups or channels, just kind of dabbling and like looking for those are the best thing. Moving on to a video of that awesome marketing I told you about. So again, Stormus is kind of like recommending or like pushing marketing heavy for their new C2 platform. So just as like a video, there's no audio to it. I'll just let you watch that real quick. It's like 10 seconds. As you see, they're just doing a demo of it. Yeah, we're really cool. Here's how you can like do all kinds of encryption. And then when you're ready, you just go to the dashboard. And we also tell you how to use the dashboard. You can look at all your infected devices here. Yeah, it's so cool. You can like change the status of your infected devices. If you want to get rid of that or look at any kind of files that are on that infected device, this is how you do it. Rada. We don't know how to press back button, so we just kind of hit the infected device again. Decryption, you just hit the decryptor. Oh my God, look, everything's going to decrypt. Woo! Yeah, I think the marketing is kind of sick though. Like if you actually like go on their Telegram channel, it's a pretty good job. Not gonna lie to you. And yeah, that's basically the video for the most part. Yeah, that's it. But yeah, just once again, these are things that you can find like these Telegram channels. Blogs and forums, of course, is how you can like keep up to date with who got hit. You kind of keep up to date to those deadlines they owe, what companies and stuff like that. Later on, we'll talk about a little bit about victims, but not heavy. And of course, you can like follow their blogs. Ransomware, like blogs, of course, will also have links to like their forums, which are really good for us. Because I mean, like I said, I'll show you a demo on how to like find some links, but the best way is to just go through their actual site, right? So, moving forward, demo of Deep Dark CTI with one hand again. Here we go. All right, so this is Fastfire's Deep Dark cyber threat intelligence platform. It's maintained by like 70 folks. I think it's maintained by this company, if I'm not mistaken. Digging into it a little bit, we won't go, of course, into all this. It's a lot of information, but once again, I highly recommend it. The README, of course, just kind of shows just a collection of a bunch of cyber threat intelligence resources. Gives you kind of all the links to those dark web links that you need, rah, such forth. Moving on to what's kind of in our round of this talk. Discord. The one thing I kind of fight with, right, is kind of on here because you're never really going to find a good link, and I've never really seen this updated that much. But if it ever does, I'd still showcase it here. Actually, let's go back to where it looks pretty. But anyway, some forums. I think it's really cool. So you can find the forums here, but you can also find the actual ransomware group forums under the ransomware tab once we get there. But I have also seen that their forums will be on this tab and not the actual ransomware forums. But of course, you go here, you click it, Clicking it just actually gives you the dark web link, so which we can't open here, of course. But yeah, for the most part, moving on. I guess I can actually stop here. Some methods I think are really cool. How to search Twitter. It kind of helps you do that Google door thing and stuff like, or doxing and stuff like that. Pushing on, ransomware game, there we go. So here's the feed for these ransomware groups. So up here we just have names, we have whether or not it's online or offline. Of course that varies, if you know anything about it. Gives you like the Tox ID, also gives you like other channels related to it, so that'll be like its Discord, or it'll be like their Telegram, or it can also be like their forum, and whether or not they have an RSS feed. Kind of pushing to see what that looks like. Alright, so we can look at like Black Hat, or I guess I'll find or whatever. So you kind of see like Tox ID, or you can see like their Twitter. This is actually, it's actually a different group. But so you see like Twitters and stuff like this, and Telegrams and whatnot. If I can find a really good example, which it does not look like it's here anymore. Again, it's always updated. So there you go. So this is a really good resource. Once again, I highly recommend. Moving on, there's also Telegrams for threat actors. They take these links with a grain of salt. Sometimes they're up, sometimes they're not. But of course, they'll tell you what group it is, whether it's offline or online. And then, like I said, these get updated quite often too. So, shout out to Fastfire for this one. Some Twitters and stuff if you want to follow, but this is really just for like the threat intelligence side. But once again, if you want to follow these groups and know what they're posting, I think it's kind of worth mentioning there. Other than that, that's about the most that I'll showcase here for that. For at least Deep Dark CTI. I'll get back into the slides, but a really good resource for finding those things. That was a demo. All right, so if you're going to go on these Discords and Telegrams, so I'm not a person that advocates like engaging at all, but you know, if you are OPSEC, and if you don't know what it is, then you probably should go learn before you do anything. Just don't go at all. So a lot of times, I think I said at the beginning of this, how this kind of came about is people within the big community would be like, so Warrior, like what's some cool things I can get into to like build up my knowledge and stuff like that. And like I said, we kind of might dive into, you know, do some research or get into intelligence, because it's kind of the one thing you can do without working for anybody to build up a good like resume, other than, you know, hands-on hacking stuff, I guess. Also, if you're going to engage, I highly recommend that you don't really like probe for information. In the past, I've seen that look really bad. Relationships are sometimes better than transactions, of course. There's a guy I'm really close with. He does this all day long, and all he does is goes into these Discord channels or these Telegram chats or these forums, these dark web forums, and he just builds these relationships. And I'm also getting a little skeptical. I'm starting to feel like he's a criminal, but he's built these relationships, and it's like you can't talk to him about any of these ransomware groups or any of these other cyber criminals. Like he already knows about them, or he already has a connection to them somehow, some way. So again, he didn't do that by going in these channels being like, hey guys, where's the ransomware groups? Can somebody help me? Like, what's up? You know, it's not gonna work. Another thing I highly recommend, staying away from altercation, right? So, of course, like, if you know anything about cyber criminals, they're like super problematic. They're gonna try to just talk all kinds of things, and people love arguing on these forums. I mean, I'm sure we've all been in it, we've all seen it, we've been doing it for decades, it seems like at this point. But yeah, don't engage. But the main thing I just want to keep saying about this is OPSEC, and OPSEC. Definitely don't go into it if you don't know. So, once again, I'm not an advocate for engaging at all, so, but I had to put this slide, right? So, one of the community members that I was kind of doing this kind of type of stuff with was like, hey, why don't we reach out to victims of ransomware attacks? That way we can get some more information on kind of how it went. And I was like, that sounds like a terrible idea, because it's the worst day of your life, but also like, who the hell's going to tell you like how it went? Nobody's going to give up that information. But believe it or not, We tried it a couple times and it actually did work, and it was actually really good information. But we found that larger firms aren't going to give you any information if you do decide to engage with some ransomware victims. So we found out that the best ones to reach out to is like smaller victims, like that mom and pop's like law firm again, or small shop that got hit with ransomware because they had no idea what they were doing. Again, I wouldn't just hit them up and be like, I know you got hit with ransomware. Like, what do you got for me? You know, that's definitely not going to work. I'm also not sociable. Somebody else did that part. And his method was like, Tommy's was really everything, right? So he didn't go the day after, like we saw him on the list and they were like, yo, so what's up? Now, we waited a few weeks or months and then kind of just, you know, reached out and kind of asked. It's kind of sad too, because a lot of people, especially a lot of organizations, don't think that ransomware has like an impact. But when you're like following the smaller victims that are getting hit, and then you try to like see where they're at a month or 6 months later and realize that they actually did shut down because they couldn't do it, it's kind of sad. Because like I said, a lot of them are older people that just didn't know anything. But so if you're gonna reach out, Tommy's everything. Don't reach out if they just got breached. Also, understand that, you know, sometimes it's the worst time of their lives, or was the worst time of their lives, so they're not going to want to talk to it at all. Offering assistance if you can, but I wouldn't try to like go out there and be a, like, you're not going to be an incident responder, like, yo, what's up, I got you know. It's kind of more so just explaining to them basically like you're developing information that can ultimately help, right? And then we found that kind of the one thing you can gather from it is kind of figuring out how that conversations went amongst the ransomware groups and the victim, or the affiliates in the victim, because they're not going to give you a DOM number most of the time. They're not going to tell you how they got hit most of the time. So we kind of just said, like, once again, that customer service part, like, how was it? Like, what was the conversations like? Can you tell us more? And we kind of found that kind of interesting, because if you compare how the conversations go amongst, like, you know, these are businesses, these ransomware groups, but if you figure out how the conversations go based on how these admins are acting within their forums and stuff, it's kind of like, well, you guys are like super mean in these forums, but I saw how your affiliates are acting over here. Your customer service is on point. But yeah, figuring out if they're helpful. Of course, the latest thing is like, did they offer like a remediation of report? Like, this is how you got hit, and this is how you can fix it. Super awesome customer service for ransomware groups. That's crazy. But yeah, if you're going to engage with ransomware, that's kind of, or victims, that's kind of all I would say to that. Once again, I don't recommend it. So kind of figuring out how all this can bolster your organization's defenses, your client's defenses, your own defenses. Personally, I think that by following and understanding these adversaries, we can kind of predict their next moves, or attempt to predict their next moves. We can try to understand, like, what's their trend, right? Sometimes they'll post something that says, like I said earlier, we're pro-Palestine, so they might, you know, go for like pro-Israeli companies, or companies that are supporting that conflict on that side. So it's kind of worth adjusting defenses based on that. It also helps us educate ourselves, our clients' organizations, but also helps us, once again, writing reports on these stuff and kind of like turning them in. I think it's something I highly advocate for, if like, especially when people are just now getting into the industry. It seems like, especially, it's super hard for some people to get jobs because of the experience thing, which that's been a thing forever. But, you know, I think publishing some stuff, information that they find is really good, and you never know when, you know, the right prosecutor is going to find that and, you know, maybe ultimately help get rid of this ransomware going, or just put them in hiding for a couple months. But also helps you prepare yourself for the worst day ever, right? If you ever, or your org ever gets hit with ransomware, you kind of already know how it's going to go. Time-wise, I think I'm actually doing okay. So that was the end of my talk. Like I said, it's kind of just starter kit level on ransomware groups and some resources and stuff like that. I think I've got 5 minutes or so of questions. If not, you guys can find me at Boyer, I think everywhere. I think I'm the only one, unless It's not me. But yeah, any questions?
I actually have one. How do we know if we have ransomware on our computer?
Oh, you'll know. So the question is, how do you know if you have ransomware on your computer? When you can't access anything, you'll see a ginormous note on there that says you got to pay this money. Yeah, but yeah, that's for the most part, you'll know.
Change the wallpaper also.
Yeah. Wait, when the wallpaper's not yours, that's... Yeah.
You, the couple sites you brought up, did they have any other subcategories about like the behavioral that the ransomware groups have been using? So like,
in
the street party. I mean, if you get to that point where you open up your laptop and you see a different screen and breathe me, you're already done.
Yeah.
Right. So like certain ransomware groups use certain TPPs to be able to get in there, phishing whatever. But trying to find that before you get the freebie.
Yeah, so if I'm understanding, or if I get the question right, basically is on those other sides, there are ways to kind of see if you're dealing with the right ransomware group based on their TTPs and stuff like that, or?
Yeah, I guess if the two sites you brought up, I haven't been to either one of them before. If they have like categories, you can kind of look up all like behaviorals of a said ransomware.
Yeah, so on ransomware.live, actually, when you go to that profile kind of lister, you can kind of look at. Sometimes those descriptions are very descriptive, so where they'll actually lay out the TTPs.
Okay.
Also, there's a link to somewhere on the About Me of that site that will link you to like a bunch of other cyber threat intelligence platforms. Again, though, on Fastfire's GitHub repository, you can find all those platforms to kind of learn those TTPs. I think that's all. I tried to go into that, but the talk would have been like an hour.
Yeah.
So, I saw a bunch of these businesses not that cybersecurity insurance.
Oh yeah.
What do you think of that?
What do I think about cybersecurity insurance? Get cybersecurity insurance, you'll never get hacked, guys. Yeah, so, me personally, what do I think about it? It's saving your dollar when you gotta pay for it, I guess, sure. But I think it's kind of, the cybersecurity insurance companies are kind of pushing that line, right? Because they're kind of making it seem like this is all you need, and that's obviously not. And that's all I said without offending anybody out there that might be cybersecurity insurance. But yeah. Anything else?
Like for that though, if you're a threat actor, wouldn't you want to try to breach that company that is paying out all these ransoms? So I know who to go after.
Oh, dude, I'm going for cybersecurity insurance. I'm going for MSPs.
Yeah.
I'm killing everybody out here. I don't want that one company. I need the one that holds all this data. Yeah, go to Black Hat. You'll find all your victims. Sorry, I did not say that. Sorry. Yeah. Anything else? Cool. Well, I'm Boyer. Thank you guys. I tried.
While you were talking, I'm looking down at my phone at some of these chats.
Oh, yeah.
Some of those chats that they have where the man, that's